We opened up the sliding glass door, and that's when we heard the screaming. She was screaming stuff like, "Help, it hurts, don't touch me there, someone help me," screaming over and over. And it was the kind of scream that was just like bone chilling.
You knew instantly what was happening.
Yeah, please hurry, because it sounds like she's being assaulted right now.
I mean, it sounds like she's being raped currently.
We'll be out there as soon as possible.
As soon as possible on March 30th for the Salt Lake City Police Department meant 28 minutes. They admit it was a slow response to what witnesses believed was a rape in progress near the Little America Hotel.
She was failed by, a system that's supposed to be supporting and supposed to, save lives.
By the time police got there, the screaming had stopped. Officers could not find a suspect or victim.
How does it feel to know that you guys did everything right, and yet still this case was not solved?
This woman, all I want to do is just find her and hug her and tell her that it's going to be okay.
Not to minimize yelling or screaming in the middle of the night in the city, but it does happen from time to time. Could have been anything, it could have been, whatever.
Salt Lake City 911 labeled this case as simply a disturbance, priority 2, not as critical as a priority 1, also known as a crime in progress.
I think that there's no excuse to not call that a priority 1, especially when there is someone being sexually assaulted.
I just saw a man attack a woman. He's an elderly couple that have been attacked. I'm so sorry, I watched that from over there. I'm so sorry.
And he struck her in the face about right here, and she dropped. Fist right across the side of her face.
Police took more than an hour to respond to this call on March 4th, an unprovoked assault on an elderly woman near 300 South, 600 East.
She was probably 5 foot, gray-haired, 90 pounds.
But that hour-long wait time is not what he had in mind after speaking to dispatch.
Got 2 people now chasing back here, so we probably need the police here quickly.
Looks like I do have officers on the way, okay?
When I left, I finally thought, they're not coming.
They were preempted from the call to another call that was higher priority.
But the Salt Lake City Police Department says this case was a priority 1. There is no higher priority.
Priority 1 could be life or death, right?
Right, yeah.
Instead, by the time they got there, no suspect, no victim, and the officers did not take time to look at security cameras.
I care for these women and men that are serving us, but we also need them to be quick responders to the situation.
So now I have to sit down and figure out what we need to do to keep it safe.
Employees at The Stockist, a specialty clothing store downtown, were mistaken when they thought police would respond quickly to the threat of a mass shooting in April. It all started with a customer who refused to wear a mask.
And then he mentioned that he was going to come back with his gun and shoot the place up.
Employees were upset waiting. They weren't sure who would get there quicker, police or the angry customer, so they closed the store for the day.
My daughter comes into the store after school, so this needs to be a safe place for everyone.
The department says this case was labeled as a priority 2, not a crime in progress.
But if he's coming back...
Yeah, exactly. But he's not there. It's a high priority still, but it's not something that we have to make sure cops are getting there. As soon as the first available cop becomes available.
More than 5 hours went by before officers responded. They say that's partly the business's fault for not calling sooner.
It does get kind of forgotten because we've got a lot going on, and there were, I think I wrote it down earlier, there were 62 calls between noon and 2 o'clock that day.
It's unacceptable. You can't have a priority 1 or a priority 2 call not being responded to for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes. That's unacceptable.
Chris Bertram, the former deputy chief of Unified Police Department, joined Fox 13 in reviewing Salt Lake City's average response times over the past year. For a priority 1 call, responses ranged from 7 minutes, 31 seconds, November 2020, to 18 minutes, 36 seconds in August 2020. The department's stated goal is 4 to 5 minutes. Priority 2 calls ranged from 11 minutes, 3 seconds, April 2020, to 31 minutes, 52 seconds in October 2020.
An innocent person that should have received that response is going to be the victim of a crime, and you in the media are going to tell everybody about it. This is the reason you're doing the story, is it's already happening. What are we doing about it?
When you don't have enough officers, you don't police. That's the problem.
The Salt Lake City Police Department is currently understaffed by 77 officers. There's supposed to be more than 500.
There's no concern from the criminals in Salt Lake City right now.
Union President Joe McBride believes because of this, the city is not safe, and he says officers are unhappy, many of them leaving because they do not feel support from the chief.
Sometimes you can't control who you work for. Unfortunately, for some of our officers, that's meant going to another department. And I know that our police chief has wished them well.
The department says even though average response times are significantly slower than they would like, they have improved over the past few months because of fewer calls for service, fewer protests, and more officers getting vaccinated.
We need to do better, but I think we are getting to that point. These are folks that are in crisis, and they need help.
When I am in a time of need, when I am watching an elderly person be assaulted, or I believe somebody is being harmed or raped, if that is unfortunately the way that it is, let the citizens know. Let them know that, hey, if you call, it may be 15 minutes before we get there.